Good morning. This is VirtualPBX admin training. I'm going to give the system here a second here to make sure it's broadcasting properly. There we go. The training lasts approximately an hour or so. We do record these trainings, so if you can't stay for the whole time, you can come back later and finish watching at your leisure. That also allows you to share the link with other staff members who may need to become system admins as well. You'll notice there are several links in the show notes. And I'll be referring to these fairly often, especially the support link there at the bottom. And with that, let's go ahead and get started here. So first you have our dash login page. This is found at dash.virtualpbx.com. We need 3 pieces of information to get logged in. First is your username. That's your email address. This should be in all lowercase letters. Your password is case sensitive. And then the account name, which is not case sensitive. If you can't get logged in, right here, just above the sign-in bar is a forgot your info link. You can click on that. Flips the box over. Still need that email address. Then we need one of the 2 following pieces of information. Typically, the account name is the easiest, right? That's your organization name, business name, or a phone number that's on the account. And then you click on reset password. This sends you an email with a link in the body of the email that lets you log in temporarily to change your password. And once you got that, you can come back here and get you logged in. I'm using a test account that I log into on a regular basis, so I start here on the dashboard. Now, up here at the top, you can click on your name at any time to get to your user account page. So here, right, this is where you would change your password after that first time you get logged in. You can update the time zone and language for your user. Over here on the left-hand side, as a system admin, I can get to the account level settings. So I can change who the technical contact is here, the time zone and language for the entire account. Admins can also access the add-ons, and this allows you to add functionality to your Dash account. The available add-ons will be listed here. Virtual Text Forward just allows you to have a phone number accept incoming texts. It is not for two-way text communication. Among the add-ons that are available are things like the advanced reporting feature, auto attendance, and dynamic caller ID. Where on the left, admins can also access the billing portal, and you can click on this link here that will take you to the billing portal itself. That's going to ask you for the email address that's involved, and only the actual billing contact will be able to access that. But via the billing portal is where you would access previous invoices as well as change the payment method. Admins can also click on cancel account and follow the process here to cancel the entire account. Click on the cancel button and there'll be a form to fill out. When you cancel it here, the system will close at the end of the current billing cycle, and then you'll get a final bill after that. Go ahead and close that here. And here we have the dashboard page. So at the top, you have your name, right? Click on that at any time to get to the account settings. To the right of your name, there's a DND toggle, which stands for Do Not Disturb. Mine is currently active, right? I can click on it, and now it's not active, right? So that means right now I'm accepting calls, right? When I click DND on, that means I'm not accepting calls. If you are added to the call center, which is a upgrade feature, right? ACD queues, this D&D toggle will be removed. That those two features don't work well together. Next, we have the little phone icon. This opens up a new tab, takes you to webphone.virtualpbx.net. If you have a web phone device on your user, you can then, on this page, uh, use your dash login information, right? So say email, password, and account name, and log into the web phone on a Chrome or Firefox desktop browser, and then you can use that browser to make and receive calls. Little chat bubble here. This will open up a new tab and take you to virtualtext.app. And this is where you would, one of the ways you would make use of the virtual text feature. So texting back and forth, or business SMS as we also refer to it. Obviously, if you don't have that feature enabled, you won't be able to log in. The little question mark icon here, this opens up a chat window at the bottom right of your browser and allows you to chat with our support team members. Here, the three horizontal line icon, the menu icon, it's also sometimes called the hamburger icon. This gets you to other dash features. And then here we have the logout icon. All right, here in the center, we have your total users. Most of our accounts are billed on a per user basis, right? So the more users you have, the higher your bill. Then we have total devices and a breakdown of the kinds of devices. Again, most of our plans, you're going to want to watch out for how many VoIP devices you add. Depending on the plan, you may not have, you may get charged per VoIP device, or you may get one included, but additional VoIP devices will incur an additional charge. Soft phone, web phone, SIP phones, those are all VoIP devices. Then I have total phone numbers. Your account includes at least one main number as part of your monthly plan price. Uh, Plans then can include an additional phone number per additional local number per user. And then anything above that would be an additional charge. I believe it's $4.99 per month per phone number. And that's also the charge for toll-free numbers. Here I have a breakdown here of assigned numbers and spare numbers. Right? Assigned number means that's the number I'm using. People can dial it, speak to a person, leave a voicemail, send a fax, join a conference. Spare number just means I'm not using it right now. The next breakdown, US DID and US toll-free. US toll-free is actually US Canada toll-free, right? 800 number, 888 down to 833. US DID just means a US local number. If you're interested in adding a international phone number, you want to email our porting team, and that's PORTING at virtualpbx.com. They need to know the city and country that you're interested in adding a phone number in. Conference bridges just means I've enabled the conference feature on 2 of my users. You have your main number block, right? So these main numbers all act the same way, go to the same location on the system. Your conference number, you can have multiple conference room numbers if you want. They're all going to the same set of conference rooms. Main fax box number, you can have one main fax box number, and that enables the fax box feature. The company directories, there's our 2 links here. One is just a CSV file. So if you can just open it in a spreadsheet program. It's going to have everyone's names, their extension numbers, their email addresses, and their devices. The soft phone link is used for the desktop or VirtualPBX desktop soft phone, right? So if you use our soft phone app on a Mac or Windows PC, download this file, upload it to your soft phone app. It will show your other staff members who have the VirtualPBX soft phone as contacts within the soft phone itself, and you can see if they're on a call using their VirtualPBX soft phone. VirtualPBX store opens up a new tab, takes you to store.virtualpbx.com, where you can order things like a white phone, and then your account realm, which is unique to each account. Now up here at the top, or back towards the top, right? I have VPBX New Hire Sandbox. I have the caller ID button here. When I click on that, it expands out. This pull down allows you to select any of your main numbers, and whatever number you select becomes your default number. This is especially important for your VoIP phones, as that is what they will use by default as their outbound caller ID, which will allow you to make an outbound call with them. Hold music, this allows you to upload your own media file, .wav, .mp3, up to 1 MB in size. This is after a call has reached one of your staff members, right? They've answered it, and then they press the hold button on their VoIP phone. That's when this media file will play. 1 MB MP3 is roughly 5 minutes long. I typically recommend recording in mono and not in stereo. So click on Browse to find file, click the up arrow icon, click on Save Changes. And that becomes the default for your entire staff. Now hours is part of main number, which we'll be getting to in just a little bit. But first, over here on the left, we're going to strip down and go to users. So here you see your users page. The people with the blue suit icon are your system admins. The people who are just a great person, like Dante here, these are your standard users. Your standard users have very limited access. They can check their voicemail, they can set up call forwarding, but they can't add devices, generally speaking, or make any of the changes we've been talking about so far. So up here at the top, you would click on Add User. And you need to fill out the form, right? So first name, last name, the system wants some sort of text. The email address used for login needs to be unique for each user, i.e. you're not reusing an email address for multiple people. This is how the system communicates with your staff, right? Password reset emails, voicemail notifications, they get sent to this email address by default. Right? Create a password for the user. Main extension number, create a main extension number for the user. The system defaults you to extension 1000, so it'll suggest the next in that series, but you can change it to whatever you need it to be. Like so. By default, the system creates a voicemail box automatically for this user. It's intrinsically tied to the user. Like from their VoIP phone, they can dial *98 and hit call. That logs them into the voicemail box. And that first time they do so, the system will prompt them to create a voicemail box PIN number, as well as create a voicemail box greeting. They'll also have the option to record their name, which is what the system uses for the user directory, which right here, if you want that user to be included in the user directory, you need to click this box here, and then they do need to record their name on their voicemail box. This option here, send emails to an alternate address. So if you want those voicemail notification emails to go to a different address than what is used to be logged in with, click on this box here, enter that different address that you want those messages to be sent to. Now, both the second and third options here, you can change at any time. Lastly, down here, send credentials to the user. I generally recommend checking this box here. If you only need to create one user, click on Create User. If you have to add multiple, click on Create User and add another. This will refresh the box so that that one that you're finished with gets created, and then you can add the second person. Right. Once a user is created, you can click on their name. Right? So if you need to, you can change their name. Here's where you can change their credentials. Right? Here's the email address or the password. You can also click on a link here to send them the password reset email so they can just change the password themselves. You can change their PIN number for their voicemail box here, i.e. you need to access it while they are away, like on vacation or something. Right, here's your option to be in the user directory, or I'm sorry, here's the option to send emails to an alternate address. This is the option to be in the user directory. Pardon me. This person icon here, that's where you can change an admin to a user or a user into an admin. The clock icon here, this is where you change the time zone for the user, right? So that way their voicemail timestamps are the correct time. And ringing timeout by default is 20 seconds, which is plenty of time to send calls to a landline or a VoIP phone. If you have a user who's only using a cell phone, you're going to want to change this to at least 30 seconds, possibly longer, but 30 seconds is a good starting point. Any changes you need to make here, click on Save Changes, and you get that little green message there. The extension box, right? Each user has their own extension. You can add multiple extensions if you need to. Just click on the link here and then add that new extension number and then Save Changes. Users can have their own phone numbers. Now, when you add a phone number to a user or to a group for that matter, when we get to it, that phone number is available 24/7. It does not have hours of operation. But you have two options. You have buy numbers or add from spare, right? So add from spare, that's how you would use your spare numbers if they're not currently being used. Buy numbers is how you add new numbers to your account, and in this case, directly to this location. Right, so add from spare, when you click on it, it's going to show the available numbers you have. Click on the box in front of it, click add selected, and now it's here, right? Then you would click on Save Changes. If I don't click on Save Changes, it doesn't stay there. By numbers, you have your option of local and toll-free. Right, we'll start with toll-free. Choose the toll-free prefix. Click find or search, sorry. And the system will populate a list of phone numbers, and scroll down, it will populate more. Click add on any phone number you like. You can add multiple if you are so inclined. At this point, though, you haven't reserved the number or anything like that. Right? So you want to make sure you click buy numbers. This will actually add it to your account. Verifies it, and now it's on your account. Now, again, I need to click Save Changes to save it to this location. If I don't, right, it's still added to my account. It just now becomes a spare number. Local, similar idea, except that you need to know the area code that you're interested in adding a phone number in. And same idea, right? You click add, save, or by numbers, and then save changes. If you get a message saying that there's no numbers available in this area code, do a search on your favorite search engine for area code, say 310 overlay, and that will tell you any an additional area code that may exist for that area, and you can do a search for that. You also have this gear next to each phone number, caller ID, right? You can set up the name for each phone number. Right? This is a name that we would broadcast out when you make an outbound call from a VoIP phone. And then you can also turn on the ability to accept that inbound CNAME information, right? So that way, if the name information is being transmitted to West, we would pass it through to your staff members' phones. One thing to keep in mind about this outbound CNAME is that's what we send out. That's what we can control. There are carriers between us and your destination, right? Not every carrier supports the CNAME feature. Once you click on Save Changes, the ones who do will update their servers. It takes them about 3 business days to do so. But once you make an up call, right, if it goes through a carrier that doesn't support it, it won't reach your destination. That final carrier, the receiving carrier, they have final say about the information that shows up on the phones on their network. This is especially important to know when you're calling cell phones. Right, the cell phone provider says, oh, we'll send a number through. that always goes through. The name information usually will not go through on a cell phone. Right? My cell phone provider wants me to pay $10 a month to have that information show up on my cell phone. And that's, other carriers have other charges associated with that. So something to be aware of. E911, each phone number on your account can have its own E911 address. This allows you to then assign the individual phone numbers to your VoIP devices for the purposes of 911. Right? So that way you can say, hey, Bob, you work at home. This phone number we're going to associate with your VoIP phone for 911 only. So if you ever have to call 911 from your VoIP phone, your address gets sent to emergency services, not corporate HQ. Prepend, this is a VoIP phone feature. This allows you to put text in front of the caller ID that shows up on your staff members' phones. So that way they know what kind of call they might be dealing with. Right? So in this case, I have the word direct show up. So I know when a call comes to me on this phone number, right? On my VoIP phone, I see the word direct and then the person's phone number that's calling in. So I know, oh, they called my number directly versus calling in through the main number. Right? Any changes, click on Save Changes. Oh, one thing to note when you have a phone number on a user, right? If they click that D&D toggle, that way they won't get calls after hours. Right. Device box, we typically recommend adding devices directly to the user. You want to look in the show notes. There's the auto provisioning phones document. Also, just on the support pages, you can look at about adding devices. The main thing I want to cover here is under new devices and soft phone. So whenever you add a soft phone or web phone, you get this warning message. Please make sure you read it at least once. And then when you click close, a big box will show up here. Now, it defaults to adding a third-party soft phone, meaning you're using somebody else's soft phone application. If you want to make use of the VirtualPBX application, down here below it where it says View Configuration Guide, there's a toggle. It says Use Third-Party Application. Click on that. Right? So now it says Use VirtualPBX application. Give it a name. Right? Click on Create Device, and then click on Save Changes. Once you click on Save Changes, the user gets an email saying, hey, your VirtualPBX soft phone is ready. Here's your login information. Here are download links. On the user page is the only place where you'll get this option of adding the VirtualPBX soft phone. Right, if you go to the Devices tab, you won't have that little toggle. So that's the main thing I wanted to bring up here. All right. Next up, oh, and users can have multiple devices. So like this user here, right? I have 3 devices. When a call was offered to my user here, all 3 devices rang by default for the same amount of time. That ring time we saw under the username, right? So for 20 seconds, all the devices are ringing. So here we have user features, caller ID number. This is for users that have their own phone number, and you want them, when they make an outbound call, to show the phone number that you've assigned to the user. So you would click OK, choose their phone number, save changes. So now when they make an outbound call from their VoIP phone, their phone number shows up, right? So like your salespeople will probably want that. So that when they make an outbound call, the person calls them back, goes right to them instead of going through the main number. Voicemail box. All right, this was created with the user. Voicemail boxes can hold up to 100 messages. After that, they are full and cannot accept any more. By default, this is the default setup here. And so what happens here is we're attaching the MP3 file to the email notification, right? The email notification has the date, the time, phone numbers involved, the email or the voicemail box involved, and then an MP3 attachment. You can just click on it and listen to it. That doesn't delete the message. Now, you have this option here as an admin to delete the message after that notification, right? That means the only way you're checking voicemail is via that email. So if there's ever a problem with your email, you might lose those voicemail messages. Now, from a VoIP phone, you can call into your voicemail box, right? *98, ask you for your PIN number, and now you're listening to the messages, and you'll have the option to delete. Also, under the user portal, right? So up here, menu icon, and there it is, user portal. The user portal defaults you to your voicemail tab, so you can listen to it directly in your browser and delete the messages there. All right, follow me. This is for users with multiple devices. Click enable, and then as an admin, you select which devices are being used. You click and drag to set them up, or click distribute. Right? You can also click and drag and change the order right after, and then click distribute again, and then save changes. Now, one thing to note about this, the follow me, calls from a group ignore the follow me settings on the user, right? So if this user has this follow me set up, calls to him normally, ring in this way. Calls from the group, ignore this and ring all three of his devices. Fax box, if you want a user have their own fax box, you can do so. Recommended to do so with a phone number, as that gives them the most versatility. It's not usually commonly used. Conference bridge, this is where you have the user enable a user to host or moderate a conference. You basically click to enable and give them a PIN number. Call forwarding, this typically if you're only using a VoIP phone, there's an option to have a failover mode. So that way, if their VoIP phone goes offline, you can forward to their cell phone. Generally speaking, in that situation, also users can set up call forwarding on their own via the user portal. Call recording. If you want to make use of call recording, this is the feature to enable, and you can select what kind of calls you want to record. Music on hold, you can have users have their own hold music. We just upload an MP3 file. Do not disturb, we've kind of covered that already. Hot desking is a VoIP feature. It allows users to log into a VoIP phone and basically get calls sent to them at the device they're sitting at, right? It's basically designed for like hybrid scheduling or a shared office environment where people aren't at the same desk every day. For any of these features, use a support document, a support page link, and do a search for the feature name, and you can see the document there. All right. Next up, we have groups, right? Sometimes referred to as hunt groups or ring groups, or simply departments, right? Basically, people who are answering calls about a similar topic. Now, up here at the top, you have add group. You need to give it a name, and you need to create an extension number for it. And then you click and drag your staff members that you want to be in the group, and then you click on create group. Once a group is created, you can click on the name, right? You can always change the name at any time. And then group call attempts. This is how many times the system will offer an inbound call to the members of the group. Right now I have it set to 3. There's little arrows here to the right, so I can increase it or decrease it as necessary. If I need to remove a group, I can just delete it. Otherwise, I can click on Save Changes. Next, we have the members box. This shows who I've assigned to the group and how I'm offering calls to them. In this case, this is a ring all setup or blast ringing. Right, I'm out. Basically, whoever gets the call, right? They all ring at the same time. Whoever answers first gets the call. In an office environment, that works out okay, right? Because you can normally hear the other people who get the call, and you're like, okay, they got the call, not a big deal. A remote working situation, you might need something like Slack or Teams to make sure, hey, someone got this call, right? Versus there's some sort of problem with either someone's phone or the group itself. Now, you can click distribute. So, always rings in this order, right? There's a call timestamp here, so you can change how long, right? It defaults to 120 seconds. And just like under the follow me settings, right? You can click and drag people to change the order, right? And then click distribute to reallocate the order that it rings in. Now it's always going to ring in this order. So if Jeanette's on a call and a call comes in the group, right? She gets offered the call first, no matter what. The system does never skips her. It never says, "Oh, you're busy. I'm going to move on to someone else," or not ring you. It's always going to try to ring her first. And then after 30 seconds or 40 seconds, right, then it goes down to David, etc. Down here, you can always add additional people, right? You have to have the additional user to add, right? But then I can just click checkbox, save, and I can click distribute again, right? It shortens the ring duration for each person because there's an additional person. These are sliders, so I can adjust them if necessary as well. And then save changes when you're done. Extension box, right? You can add multiple extension numbers for a group if you need to. Just click on add extension, enter the extension number, and save changes. Phone numbers, groups can have their own phone numbers, and just like under users, it's available 24/7. But beyond that, it's the same, right? Buy numbers or add from spare, and then save changes. Group features, bring back. So by default, right, call comes into the group, rings your staff members' phones. That ringing sound is piped back to your inbound caller. Ring back. If you don't want that, let's say you actually want them to hear something instead, you can upload your own media file, .wav, .mp3, up to 1 megabyte. Now, the system is not going to loop the file for you. So you want to make sure whatever file you upload is at least as long, if or longer, than the total ring time you have set up in the group. Right? But then after you've uploaded, click on Save Changes. Next up, we have Next Action. This is if your staff members aren't able to answer the call in the group, what do you want the system to do with that call? So up here, you click to enable, and in the pull down, you select something on your account. Another user, a group, or a different group, right? A voicemail box, send them back to your main menu, etc. And then save changes. Allow call forwarding. This is if you have just VoIP phone usage on, so your devices on your users are all VoIP phones, then you would maybe want to click on allow call forwarding, so that way if they're away from their desk or away from their VoIP phones, they can choose to forward to their cell phone, right? Caller ID prepend. This isn't very used often, but this is a VoIP phone feature. You can have text or numbers show up in front of the caller ID that shows up on your staff members' VoIP phones, right? A way to indicate what the call might be about. All right, so with that in place, we can go over to the main number. First up, you have your main company numbers. This is where you can add more numbers or remove them, right? So unassigned means you don't want them to be a main number anymore, and it puts it into your spare numbers. Down here, you have buy numbers or add from spare. So this is where you put numbers back in, or add spare would be adding them in that from numbers you already have, buy numbers, adding new numbers. You have the little gear icon, right, to update the caller ID, E911, prepend, etc. Once you have that in place, you can choose your office hours setup. You'll default at 24-hour open office to begin with. Many people choose to go to custom office hours. If you do so, put a check mark next to each day of the week that you're open. Then in the boxes to the right, set up your open hours in 24-hour or military time. You also have the option here to say you're closed for lunch every day at the same day. Just put a check mark here and then enter your lunch hours in 24-hour or military time, and then click on Save Changes. Office holidays. If you're closed for holidays, put a check mark here. Then to the right, click on Add Holiday, select single day, date range, or advanced. Each one of those creates a new row. Right? Christmas Day, like I have here, right, is a single day, right? So give it a name, month, date, save changes. Date range, like I have here for holiday, give it a name, start date, end date, save changes. Advanced is for Memorial Day, right? I gave a name, I choose the month. The second pull down, you have first through fifth as well as last, and then the day of the week, right? Save changes. If you need to remove a holiday, click on the little trash icon and then save changes. All right. Then you have incoming call handling. First thing to note is you have subtabs. You have open hours, after hours, and holidays, right? If I had chosen to be closed for lunch hours, I would also have a lunch hours tab here. But for my main numbers, right? During my open hours, calls are coming into my virtual receptionist. Here you have your main menu, your greetings, and your settings. The main menu, that's where you add options here, right? So when you click on add route, it gives you a new row. The first pull down, you can set 0 through 9 plus the star key, and you get the default action. And then in the second pull down, you have things that are on your system. Typically, we recommend sending callers to a group, a user, a queue, or a voicemail box. You can send things to like a media file. However, once the media file is done playing, the call ends. Right. Also for devices, if the device doesn't have a built-in voicemail, right, it's just going to ring for 20 seconds and then end. All right. Your greeting options, right? This is where you say thank you for calling and give directions, right? Pressing 1 for sales, 2 for support, that sort of thing. Text to speech, type in a greeting. It's going to be read back in a computerized robotic voice, limited to 250 characters, not words, something to be aware of. You can upload your own file, right? .wave.mp3. Just click on choose file, find it, click update, save, and save changes. Choose from an existing recording, right? Basically, any media file that's already on the account will show up here. Click on the pull down to find it, click on save changes. Record it over the phone. Pickup, this is designed with using a VoIP phone in mind, right? That's what it means when it says pick up a phone registered the account. And you call into your system and you enter this PIN number when you hear the main greeting. This PIN number is specific to this time of day, i.e., this one only works during my open hours. If I called on a Saturday when my system is in closed mode or after hours mode, this PIN number would not work. Now, if I want to use a cell phone or landline instead of my VoIP phone, then under my settings where it says allow outside recording, I would turn this on. Then I can call from my cell phone, for instance, still use that same PIN number. Once I'm done, we do recommend you turning this back off. You don't want some random person calling in and somehow, or accidentally, or maybe on purpose, trying to find your PIN number and then change your main greeting on you. Professional recording services, when you click order, this opens a new tab, takes you to Snap Recordings. It's a separate company where you can order a professionally done recording and they will email you the file. So then you would just come back up here to upload your own file. All right. Number of retries on missed dial is how many times your inbound caller can make a mistake. They have one built-in attempt, so each additional, right? So any number you put here, add +1. So in this case, my customers have 2 attempts to get through the system. Dialing timeout, this is how much time the system waits for the customer to enter an additional button press, right? So person calls in and presses 7, the system's gonna wait here for 5 seconds. Oh, that's what you meant. It gives them time to enter a multiple digit extension number. Allow dialing extensions. By default, this is on, and this just means if someone enters a valid extension number, the call is transferred. If you turn this off, they can only enter your menu options. And then the suppress the flagging of invalid entry. So if a customer calls in and they keep entering a wrong entry, right, the system will eventually say, we don't recognize your entry, and then either transfer the call to your default action or end the call if there's no default action. If you don't want that message to play, you would just click on this to enable that. Any changes you make to your main menu, your greetings, or your settings, you need to click Save here and then Save Changes here. Now for my after hours, I have the second option chosen here. This is the live operator answer option. The idea here is that you're offering the call to a person or a group of people potentially to have a chance to answer the call first. And then if they're not able to, send the caller to the virtual receptionist. So this is a pull down, right? You can choose user, group, call queue if you're making use of that. You could even choose device in this case. You don't want to typically select media file as that can be confusing to your caller, but then click on virtual receptionist and you'll have your menu options, right? You can have your greetings, your settings that we just went over. And then for holidays here, I chose the third option here where I said just skip don't offer to anything. Instead, go right to a voicemail box I selected. Now, this first pull down, I can select a media file, a group, user, etc., right, to offer to somebody first. But I instead just said, hey, you know what? It's the holidays. Don't waste people's time. Just send them to the voicemail box that they can leave a message on. Main conference number, you can have multiple conference room numbers if you want. They all go to the same set of conference rooms. The custom greeting is just text to speech. You just click to enable and then type in what you want the system to say. Even if you don't have anything, even if you leave that disabled, when you call your conference room number, the system says, thank you, welcome to the conference, and then prompts the caller to enter the conference room number. Main fax box number, you can only have the one. Once you do have it, you can edit the fax box here. Inbound notification email, right? Put in an email address. That email gets sent a message every time a fax is sent in. It's going to have the date, the time, phone numbers involved, and then a PDF attachment. Now, if someone dials your fax box number, say from their cell phone, you will still get an email notification saying that there was a failed fax attempt. In the body of that email, look at the phone number and see if it says wireless number after that phone number. So that way you know, oh, this was just a misdial. Email permissions, you can put a single email address in the box to the right or your company's email domain. If you choose your company's email domain, anyone at your company can send a fax out on this account without having to be a user on the account. In terms of sending a fax out, that's via email. In the to field, right, you put +1 area code and phone number, then your account realm, which will be displayed here, and then you attach a PDF or TIFF file. Right, the system doesn't look at the subject line. It doesn't look at the body of the email. Anything you type there is not going through. It only looks at the attachment, only one attachment per email, only one phone number per email. All right, auto attendance, this is an add-on feature. This is basically gives you an extension number to have multiple virtual receptionists, right? So whether it's for multiple companies or because you have, you want to make use of submenuing, right? One for English, two for Spanish. Up here, you click on add attendant, give it a name, give it an extension number, and then click on create auto attendant. When it's first created, it defaults to being unavailable in main menu, meaning it's a standalone attendant, i.e. its own business. If you want it to be a sub-menu option, we'd click on this toggle. Now it's available in main menu, right? So it's a menu option, or it can be a menu option. You have to decide to select that. Right? Auto attendants can have their own phone numbers, and they can have multiple. And if you click on a little wrench icon here, right, the hours and holidays, right, match what you set up under the main number, right? And then they're all virtual receptionists. So you would have to set up menu options, a greeting, etc., and then save and save changes. Right, device tab shows all your devices on the account. Now, you can add devices here, but as I mentioned under the users, oops. When you add the soft phone, you don't have the toggle here, right? So if you want the VirtualPBX soft phone, you have to add it directly to the user. And in general, we again recommend doing that directly for all the users. Greetings, this shows all your media files on the account. Up here, you can add files, right? Give it a name, click on browse to find the file on your device. Whoops. And then click on create greeting. It will upload it here, so then it's available for you to select from wherever you want to make use of it. Right, here you see the names. Source, TTS means text-to-speech. Upload means you uploaded the file. Recording means it was recorded over the phone. Little play column here, you can play back the greeting directly in your browser. Here you can download the file to your computer, which I would recommend doing for your main greeting so you have a backup for it. And then here, the little wrench icon is where you can change the name, especially for the text-to-speech greetings. So it's easier to understand, or delete the greeting if you no longer need it. All right, numbers, right? Shows your numbers in use. You've got the little gear icon here if you need to update that information. Then under spare numbers, right, you can buy numbers here to add them into the account. You can port a number, which just means you're moving a phone number from your current carrier to VirtualPBX. You just click on new port request and follow the on-screen instructions. You can also use this under the support pages, do a search for porting, and that will have all the screenshots to show you what to do and what to expect. The main thing is that there's a letter of agency, or LOA, that you can download the blank one there in that porting process. That needs to be completed and signed. Right? It needs an actual signature file, or printed out and signed. All right. Next up, voicemail boxes. So here you have your already created voicemail boxes. Anything with a name here means it was created with the user. But up here at the top, you can create your own voicemail boxes, like for use with groups, for instance. Give it a name, voicemail box number, PIN number, click on create voicemail box. Right. So this is the information you would need to log into the voicemail box over the phone, right? To listen to messages, etc. Voicemail box numbers are not the same as extension numbers, right? So if someone calls into my main number, tries to dial 3333, they are not getting to this voicemail box. Beyond that, after that, you want to, under advanced, go to greeting media. You can upload your own file here, MP3 or .wav, or use the pull down to select from a file you already have here. The temporary is that out of office or vacation message. So if you have both a temporary file and a media file selected, only the temporary file will play until you set temporary back to none. Then the media file will play. Recipients, click on add recipient and enter the email address here. Your user voicemail boxes already have a built-in recipient, so you don't need necessarily to add a new one here, but you can do so if you're so inclined. And then under options, once you have a media file in place and recipients, you can click on already set up. So this is basically means you don't change the voicemail greeting. And then you can double check to make sure that you have attached emails set up as well as delete if you want that. Like, so this is my support voicemail box. I don't want it to ever become full. So I would have delete after notification set up here. All right. Virtual text forward. It's an add-on feature. You may need to talk to our services team to make sure it can be enabled on your account. This is, again, for a phone number to accept inbound texting. It is not for back and forth text communication. Right? So if you need back and forth texting, that's the virtual text feature. If you just need to accept inbound faxes or texts, then this feature can work for you. Up here, you click on add number, choose a number on your account. This needs to be a spare number on your account. After you've done this, then you can assign it to where you want to use it, group, user, etc. And then either enter an email address where we're forwarding it to, or if you have webhooks on your account, you can enter the webhook here. And then click on virtual text forward. And so you see here, text to these phone numbers get sent to these email addresses. Virtual extensions is a plan-specific feature. This allows you to have basically a way to route calls to additional people without actually having to add a user. Now, virtual extensions, they're limited to having only one device. They are not users, so they cannot be a part of a group. They cannot be part of a queue. Additionally, when you click on add extension, you'll see here, it just asks you for a name and an extension number, right? When you click on create extension, that means you cannot add a virtual PBX soft phone to a virtual extension, right? Because a virtual PBX soft phone needs to have that email address so that we can send the credentials to it. Call logs just shows your call history. Yeah, go by today, this week, this month, or custom. The system under custom will let you go back up to 1 year. If you need to go further than that, you need to contact our support team. They'll have to do an escalation. Our engineers can go back up to 18 months, and after that, the data is not available. So if you need to keep your call log information for any reason, you'd want to do that on a monthly basis. Feature codes. These are ways for your VoIP phone users to access Dash features directly from their VoIP phones. Again, you can use the support pages to do a search for the feature codes or the phone command cheat sheet, which has the context help. Next up, we have the menu icon. First up, we have blacklists. Blacklists allows you to create a list of phone numbers that you're blocking phone numbers from reaching your staff. Again, just to save some time, just use the support link to get a better grasp of what would the steps involved. Call recording. This does one of two things. It will either take you to recordings.virtualpbx.com, where it would ask you to use your Dash login to log into it, and then you can view recordings here. Or if you're making use of AWS, it would show your call recordings there. In our support pages, you can do a search for AWS or Amazon, and it will show you the documentation you need to get that set up. But here you can see my call recordings here. I can play them back, download them, etc. Number manager, this just takes me back to my spare number page. We'll skip those three till the end. Call center, this you want to look at the advanced ACD Queues Pro demo to see what these are about, but basically call queues. Queues are an advanced form of groups Uh, so like in a queue, as an agent, you can mark yourself away so you're not taking calls temporarily. Or at the end of my day, I can log out of the queues so I'm not getting calls at all. Uh, Queues also allow managers to eavesdrop in on a call, right? Or whisper to their agent or barge in if they need to, where you can't do that in a group. Dynamic caller ID, this allows you to create rules that allow you to change the outbound caller ID for your VoIP phones. You can either do it by area code or set up a feature code. Again, please refer to the support guide. Faxes, this is your fax manager where you can see your fax history. Uh, and, oops, let's bring that up here. So you can get to any fax box on the account. This is my inbound page, so I can see the date, the time. I can download the file again if I need to. Outbound tab, right? I can see what I've sent out. If there's a failure, you just want to mouse over it. That will give you a little bit more detail. In this case, it's saying we never heard fax tones. All right, so it's an actual phone number, but there's no fax machine on the other side. Email to fax logs. If you see a problem here, that means the system had a problem processing the request. Go to the mount eyeball icon here to the far right and click on that. And you see here, no valid attachment. Probably means the person forgot to include an attachment, right? They click send too fast. Reports, you want to look in the show notes for the advanced reporting demo. This allows you to create your own customized reports, basically an advanced version of the call logs. But there's a lot going on there. Voicemails, let's let you get to any voicemail box on the account. All right, so you can see the messages, especially if a voicemail box is full, because then you can click on the box in front of it and either move it to a different voicemail box or change its status. SMS registration, this is what you would need to go through if you want to make use of the virtual text feature. This tells you what it's all about. This is actual starting the registration process down here. And then here shows you your status. AWS integration, this is an add-on. And this is where this is where you would add the information from AWS to your Dash account, right? So we need the access key, secret access key, and the bucket. Webhooks is a plan-specific feature. This allows you to link Dash to other software. If you look in the show notes, you can look at the Introduction to Zapier webinar. This covers some of webhooks. You can also go to developer.virtualpbx.com to see sample code of what we have done. It is some level of coding, so please be aware of that. And then lastly, we have the user portal. Every user has access to their own user portal. It defaults you to your voicemail tab. And so this is one of the ways you manage your voicemails. You can play back, you can download it. Again, put a check mark here to change the status. The call history tab, user can view the calls that they have made and received. They can go back again up to 1 year. The fax tab is only usable with users that have their own fax box, but they would see their fax history. Contact list shows everything on the account, right? This basically makes it easier for your staff to transfer calls or even find feature codes. Conference tab, this is for users that you've enabled the conference bridge feature on. Over here on the right is where they can adjust their PIN numbers. The moderator and participant PIN numbers should be different, right? That's for security. Here you can choose to have people join muted or deafened, entry and exit tones. While in a conference, you can invite other Dash users. You can lock a conference so no one else joins, mute everybody, unmute everybody, and the conference. Also, each person has their own little box, so a moderator can mute a specific person or even kick out a person if necessary. The Settings and Devices tab, This is right here is where your staff members can enable call forwarding themselves. Right? You don't have to do it for them. They click on the box here. They enter +1 area code and phone number in this box here to the right, and then click on save. I am now call forwarding. Right? I uncheck this and click save, and now I'm not call forwarding. All right, and that is everything. And I don't see any questions, so I'm going to go ahead and end the training. Again, we record these so you can come back and view it anytime, and we'll be here next Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day.